True Way podcast. This is our first episode, and I'm Josh, and this is my wife Rachel,
Hello.
and we are obviously doing a podcast, but we're gonna start out by
We're pumped.
yeah, we're very pumped. I'm actually very excited, also very nervous at the same time, which is weird because I've done this before, but do you want to say anything?
I am really only doing this because you and the Lord asked me to.
Okay.
So I'm working my way there. I am. No, I'm excited. I'm just excited to see where it goes and how it goes, and
Yeah, me too.
why don't we maybe say a little bit about us and, why we want to do this at all.
Yeah, people might want to know who we are a little bit. I guess
Maybe.
that's a good point. That's a good point. So, we'll do like a little who we are and a little bit of background about us and why we want to do this and stuff. So, besides me asking you to do this and the Lord asking you, why do you want to do this, Gene?
I think just because we got into such a. I mean, most of the time that we've been married
Yeah.
has been just one insane roller coaster after another. And not necessarily because of anything that we did. And that, all of that was really hard. But, this is kind of the story of how we got out of it. Not necessarily out of it, but we'll cut a lot of this. It'll be fine.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say from that standpoint? Or would you like me to say why I'm doing this?
Get after it.
Get after it. All right. So, I have always believed in God. Always. But I kind of step away from the faith for a while. Not like totally. Like I always knew.
Right.
There was a line I wouldn't cross. And then when you got sick, I really started to pray again for the first time in a long time. So I never fully left the faith. It's not like, I left and came back or nothing, but I just kind of backed off for a little while. But now I would consider what I got going on is on fire. You know what I'm saying? On fire. So, but the main reason why I'm doing this is because, one, I woke up out of a dead sleep in the middle of the night and started writing things down about doing a podcast and telling our story because we've had kind of a few unique things happen in such a short time.
A few.
Yeah, so that's why I want to do this. I want to hopefully somebody that comes across this, it relates to them and it just gives them that little bit of hope of seeing, hey, they came out of this and this happened and this happened. Well, maybe I need to give the Lord another chance. So, or if they've never spoke to the Lord at all, maybe this will help them do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
there's all that, and then I guess the very basics are who we are, as people.
Yeah. I said at the beginning, I'm Josh. This is my wife, Rachel.
Yep.
We are married. I know. Calm down. She's already pulled me off the market.
That's true. There wasn't exactly a list of suitors lined up for me. So.
Oh, I thought you was going to say me.
No. No, I had to strike while the iron was hot on that one because you had exactly 13 milliseconds in between relationships. And I knew if I didn't get right in there, it was going to be another 5 years to wait, and I wasn't getting any younger.
I thought you were out of my league so bad, so I
fidget.
wouldn't even have tried to, in a normal circumstance, to hit on you. Because
it worked out well.
For one, I mean, I kind of was where I walked away from the faith. You know, I kind of was unknowingly going down a dark path.
Okay.
And, you know, obviously I'm not now. So, so at that point, if it wouldn't have been for the old podcast I used to do, and it ended up, that's how we reconnected. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have pursued you 100%.
I can understand that. Well, I left and then I came back, and
But also, your last name was different, and it was in high school, so I just assumed you were married because, for one, I thought you were very pretty, so I was like, ain't nobody gonna let her just be out there by herself.
well,
So
they did.
not everybody, you know, wants to keep this around like you like to pretend.
I do.
I know you don't think this, but from a data standpoint,
That made your point right there, don't
yeah,
you worry.
I am morbidly obese, bald, going bald.
We're not putting any of this in there.
Yes, we are.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are. It's recording right now.
Yep, we can cut things out.
Another thing, I've got brain damage. Almost forgot that for a second.
That's so appropriate.
I know. It fits like a glove.
It does. So we've been married almost 7 years. Is that
You can't
almost
ask
7?
me that.
No, I was trying to do math real quick. Yeah, it'll be 7 years this year. And then probably the last 6 of it has been one absolute dumpster fire after another.
Yep.
So, you know.
If our marriage was a bodied person, somebody was just walking up and speed bagging it right in the crotch.
That's true. Repeatedly.
Yep. Because there was a lot of times that we didn't even have a second to get up and breathe in between disasters.
No, not at all. And I think that that's important, and one of the reasons that I'm open to doing this and kind of telling our story, just because I know that there's like, we could have used us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
When we were going through this, just because, you know, life happens.
We're so young for especially what happened to me.
Absolutely. But regardless, life happens to everybody, you know, especially like around this age. I've noticed like people's parents are dying and, you know, getting divorced, and, you know, some people have lost kids and some people aren't able to have kids. Like, it's a lot of different things in life that when, you know, 20 years ago you didn't think that it would look like.
No.
And so when, you know, when you're faced with how you thought life would be versus how it really turns out, I mean, it's...
Especially because when we were dating, before we actually got married, like it was fairy tale, picture
100%.
perfect, nothing wrong,
100%.
nothing bad happened.
No.
It was almost as soon as we put the rings on our fingers.
We got 2 months and then that was it.
Yep.
And it was just no real rhyme or reason.
Yeah. But I wouldn't trade it.
No. Well, I mean, maybe a couple things, but
I'd be afraid it would change it completely.
I can see. Well, so, but
Butterfly effect.
I will pay you not to do that again.
Deal.
Okay. But I just think that, you know, it's important when you're in the trenches to see somebody on the other side of things and to be able to figure out how they got out. So that's just kind of, we're a testament, a testimony to how
Do you want to touch on just a snippet to give them like a reason to want to hear your testimony?
You mean like as far as...
Like what happened? Like not the whole thing, just like a real quick...
What happened to me or what happened to you?
What happened to you?
Oh,
Because your testimony will be about that, and my testimony is about mine. So that's 2 separate episodes plus, because it's a lot of stuff to go through.
It is a lot. So we didn't know for a long time what happened to me. Saw about a bajillion doctors and specialists. I went from being very, very well and working all the time and doing that and, running around with kids and life and whatever. And then I was in school, like I had gone back for my master's degree. And then all
Got
of a
pretty
sudden,
close to finishing it too, didn't you?
I still had some time to go. I was like right in the,
Yeah.
but I was,
Cusp.
I was in my program and, doing okay and all that. And, got really sick and we didn't know what was wrong. It was like I was really fine one day and then the next I wasn't. And then I just never got better. And then over a few years, I mean, they figured out what,
Some stuff.
well, they figured out eventually medically what happened to me.
Yeah.
And then, but all that made me really dark because I had never been able to not push through things. And that found me a very bitter person after, we were incredibly happy and this is what life was supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And I think if I could have, rationalized and figured stuff out, with how things were, how things, like I could have made sense of a lot of it. But I think that it put me in a weird space
Mm-hmm.
between God and I, and that's never really been the case.
Yeah.
I mean, I was raised like very legal, when I grew up, very legalistic church we started in, and then went to the Methodist church and, went there for a long time and had a fantastic experience growing up with that. But religion for me was not religion. It was always relationship. Like I always felt like, God and I could talk. It wasn't like I was deep in the Bible or anything, but like
Yeah.
I focused on that part of things, And so then when I was really, really sick, I just felt like there is something wrong. Like I had a really hard time. I was kind of mad at God, to be honest. And I know that the way that you grew up was very different
Yep.
religiously. Do you want to maybe touch on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I went to church growing up. Most American children did, and
It was the thing.
it was the thing. But from my family, it was pretty much non-optional at first, till we were a certain age. Which I mean, back then, people didn't leave kids at home, especially when they were real little. Especially when
Well, you were
there's
from a
5 or
big,
6 of
yeah,
us
you
running
were from
around.
a big
Yeah,
family too.
We were a big family. We weren't very trustworthy as children to not get into stuff. So it was if mom and dad's going,
Everybody's
we're
going. Yeah.
Yep. So I went to a Baptist church for a little while, and then I did like both sides of the family.
Yeah.
Like
Baptist one
Baptist
side.
was on one side,
Presbyterian
and
the other, I think.
Presbyterian, and then Christian was on the other side, and so, which I didn't know for the longest time that those were all under the umbrella of Christianity. I was just like, I don't understand why there's so many different names. But yeah, I got big into doing a youth group and stuff when I had started going to the Presbyterian, and really got into that and kind of thought about, pursuing something in ministry when I got older, but
Okay.
Just life happens, and
As it does.
and I crossed the line and felt like I didn't have church hurt like some people talk about. Like I crossed the line that I didn't think I would at that age, and after that I just was like, well, I messed up, so guess this is my life now. So
Yeah, you were just
kind
too
of thought
far
I
gone
was
kind of thing.
unworthy to
Yeah.
ask for, because I'd been baptized and stuff like that, so I took that pretty seriously after I did that. As like, ooh, like I don't want to step back in God's house after I felt like it was kind of like spitting on like in his face.
I felt the opposite. It
Really?
was once saved, always saved, and I will apologize and
Hey.
just keep it going.
There's
Which isn't the appropriate thing necessarily to do either, because you can always, go back to God.
oh,
That's
you
not
know
a big
what?
deal. What's that?
People might want to know why we have the name we have on our the True Way podcast. How did we come up with that?
you did it, and you sent it to me, and I said, that sounds really great. And then I thought that we would talk more about it. And instead, I got a request on social media to like our page.
Yeah. You gave me the green light.
I did something.
And I have brain damage. So when you give me a sounds good, to me that's a fire it up, let's roll, boy.
90 miles an hour.
Yep.
Which was, I guess, my fault. But yeah, so we are the Trues, if you don't know us personally.
Yep, that's our
for
last
the
names.
3 people that may be watching this that don't know us from our hometown. And so that's cute and funny and fine. But we have really turned stuff, at least in our house, to try and be more biblically based and really get back into studying what the word actually says instead of what
other people tell us it says.
Yeah, I don't really trust people. I don't really trust people in the pulpit. And so I thought I'm going to open it myself and see what it says. And that way, you know, if somebody asks me what I believe or then I can say. But the way was Jesus's followers before it was Christianity, before, you know, any of that.
Yep.
The original followers were the way because Jesus is the way.
Yeah, and it's was it John 14:6?
I think so.
I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
Yep. So we are the Trues. It's not necessarily, our way is not necessarily the way. We're just sort of the Trues on the way, and the way is Jesus. So
yeah,
we're just gonna be, without being condemning of other people. That's not ever what we want to do. We're not that
we're not
type.
trying to call people like, we're not gonna do this like, oh, this person said this. That's
no hellfire and brimstone is
like
not.
False
that's
prophets
not my bag. No. But
I am like hardcore all in.
Yep. It's
Like
been kind of wild.
Got multiple Bibles I've been studying because people argue over which translation's the best, and I'm like, well, if I get most of them and keep reading them, I'll figure it out.
It's been a fun time at the True household.
Yeah. I probably got 6 different translation Bibles right now.
And we won't be doing specifically like walking you through any kind of anything. Kind of more of an interlaced version of our story, and then pieces in the Bible that
relate to that.
Related
just cool
to
stuff
us.
We find in the book too.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but me, I read the Bible a few times growing up.
Oh no.
And I swear, like, I know I got brain damage. I know that, but reading it now, it's almost like it's a totally different book.
Absolutely.
Like, it's insane.
I agree with that. Every time you open it up, it's something that's different. I don't know if it's because there's more life under our belts or stuff that's happened or whatever it is, but it just seems to find a way to.
And it really does help. Like,
get
the
you
more
together.
I get into it and read it,
I've seen a very big difference in you over the last several months.
I mean, it's life changing. It's the living words. All I can say. Like,
so, we're on fire, but we're not those people. I know I shouldn't say that. Everything is, you know.
From the Bible Belt!
We're just a couple of married people with a couple of kids and a couple of dogs and a gaggle of ducks in the backyard.
Yeah.
And we're just going to figure it out. I fidget a lot. That's my thing. So I'm not like...
And she's never done nothing like this before. I used to do a thing called the Unplanned Show with a couple buddies, and did that for a couple years.
2 or 3, yeah.
And then, because that's how we got reconnected. So I owe a lot to the love of the Unplanned Show.
Absolutely.
And my co-hosts and stuff. And
100%.
Stuff like that. And I'll always cherish that time. And
it was fun.
It was fun. And now that I guess you could say I'm reborn, but like I'd already been baptized before, so I don't know if that really counts.
You just sort of
found
a pivot point.
Got jerked back.
Yeah.
And now I take this stuff very seriously, and I feel like when I get into my testimony stuff about what happened to me more is one of the things is I'm taking this very serious, and I feel like my old name that I used to use that a lot of people knew me by, especially from the show and stuff like that. My name was White Buddha, and people called me Buddha all the time. Well, Buddha's dead and gone. I don't use the name anymore. I've changed all my stuff from that name because I feel like to properly honor Jesus.
You just felt convicted about it.
Yeah,
was the
like
thing.
I felt
Everybody
real
gets
convicted
convicted
about it because I wasn't going to use the name anymore just because that part of my life is gone. And there's not saying like I did anything wrong per se, but if I'd have stayed doing the show, I don't think I wouldn't be where I am now.
I agree with that.
Like I wouldn't.
I don't think
taking
either
this
one
serious.
of us would be, but just
Yeah. So
I'm just
had
glad.
to take a different turn.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, did that show and did it for a while. I also went through a traumatic event. Did I say that right? Traumatic?
Yeah,
traumatic.
yeah.
Tra or dra?
Tra.
Tra?
Yeah, because it's trauma.
Yeah, trauma. To sum it up pretty quick, it's brain damage caused by a subarachnoid hemorrhage. I got that written down on the table so I could remember. But it was basically back here in the back of my head. I had a blood vessel in my brain pop and bled out. And long story short, a lot of bad things happen when that happens. So I will talk about it on another episode to really get into it. But where I survived that and all that stuff, and I had never experienced the darkness that I experienced from this recovery. And
We went very radio silent when everything started to go badly. One, because I could hardly, in the beginning, string a sentence together. Literally.
Yeah.
And
I
so
worked night shift, 12-hour shifts.
Yep.
So
we
was
just
gone
sort
at
of
night.
battened down the hatches and focused on these four walls and trying to raise two little kids and figure out, initially what was wrong with me, because I was really sick, and then our stuff didn't really overlap. Like, I started to get better, and then all of a sudden, you had your brain injury, and
As soon as the water started to settle with you.
yeah, a couple weeks.
Yep.
It was just
It's
wild.
like I got blasted.
Yep. And so
Critical. In the back of the head. Bing.
sort of, yeah.
Something tried to shoot me.
Something like that. But
Maybe. Because, look, digging into the Bible the way we have, there's a lot of things lining up that's a little like, ooh, I didn't know that was really in the Bible like that. So, that's one reason why we're doing this, too, though, is because a lot of people don't. They hear stuff, and then they're just like, oh, that's crazy.
Well, I
Like,
think-
get in the Bible. It's in this stuff's in there.
Christians leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth.
There's a lot of fake Christians out there that just use the name because, I mean, and it's not necessarily a fault of their own. It's just in America, there's a lot of moving that line that the Lord don't like it.
Well, people tend not to like his followers very much. The real one's fine. I mean, I think I have some trepidation towards doing this podcast anyway, just because of people. That's hesitancy.
Oh,
Just because I've always felt like, yeah, I was a Christian. Yeah, I have a relationship with Jesus, but I ain't one of those people. And I see that wasn't the right thought process to
Oh,
have,
no,
or the right
going-
attitude to have.
going through this stuff and like getting all in on the Bible.
So I'm
like,
working on it.
I've
Being
noticed
loud and proud for Jesus, I
a
guess.
lot of stuff I used to do was not good. And that's the thing, like, the stuff in the Bible, like, I take it very serious. And there's certain things that are sins, and people don't like to hear that, but I do sins too. Like, no sin's greater than the other. Like, except for the blaspheming God, I think, is the biggest one. If there was a top tier, but they're all the same to the Lord, so I'm not judging nobody, and if you choose to live a certain lifestyle and believe a certain thing, that's not me to say whether or not you're right or wrong. That's
true.
That's between you and the Lord. So I'm not gonna be mean to nobody. That's the one thing I think that leaves a lot of bad taste in people's mouths, is when the Christian community is like screaming at people and stuff about, oh, you need to repent,
It's
or you're
gross.
going to hell.
It's
like,
gross.
yeah, that's. If you really read the Bible good, you might as well be screaming into a mirror, because I guarantee you the sins you're doing's counted the same. So
we'll be doing that, and
Yep.
if the only reason that you're wanting to tune in is just to hear about all the drama and the tea that has occurred in our life over the last 6 years, then
I don't like tea.
I don't either. But that's what.
That's right. We're from Kentucky. We don't like sweet tea. Ah! We just lost everybody wanting to watch now.
That's true.
They don't drink
No, there's
tea?
enough. No, there's enough nosy people that are out there. I know, because I am one that would be like, all right, that's a red flag, but I'm gonna sit and I'm gonna tune in because I want to know what happened to them people, because I heard X, Y, and Z.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, too. There's going to be a lot of stuff that we talk about that our close friends and family don't even know.
No, because we kept
haven't
everything really close to the chest.
kept everything real close to the chest, and when the stuff that happened to me, like, it was not good. I was in a place I never thought I would be, and I didn't want to be around nobody. I was not a very nice person.
You were healing.
But yeah, like
And trying
that
to
was the
figure
thing.
out-
Like, I couldn't, with that brain damage. Like, one thing that I'll say is the type of brain damage I had went from me being able to organize everything, noises, everything, and then when it happened, if there was two separate noises in the room, they were both the same and both loud as could be. So I couldn't be around. I couldn't hear anybody, or I could, but I couldn't make out what you would be saying and this person would be saying, and the other background noise would be going, and I would just get so irritated. I didn't want to talk to the people. I didn't want to.
You fell asleep one way and woke up with a totally different life.
Oh yeah.
And that's catastrophic.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a big thing too with this. Like, I know there's a lot of people talking about the end times and all that coming up, and like, we're not really gonna do that kind of stuff. I mean, we might talk about some stuff here and there like that, but my thing is, I was at work, normal, worked 12-hour shifts, doing all kinds of stuff. Just boom, 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 boom. Not really had a problem. Like, yeah, I was fat, but I'd been fat my whole life, so I knew how to move and be fat. So, but when that happened, I was at work, started to feel sick, and my boss and friend of mine was like, "You look like crap." I was like, "I feel like it. I'm gonna go home." And I never left work early unless it was an emergency. Left at like 2 or 3 in the morning, got home and threw up outside and threw up in the bathroom and had a horrible headache. Well, it wasn't horrible yet, but like, it was starting.
you'd had migraines that had been worse than that. Yeah.
And was just like, my neck's hurting, so I took 2 Tylenol and went to sleep. That's what happened.
That's not what happened.
Well, yeah, I woke up in a hospital strapped to a bed and couldn't see and understand anything.
That
with
was several days in.
Right, but to me,
I know.
I
I'm
went
just-
to work, come home, threw up, went to sleep, woke up in the hospital
I know.
days later. So that was an experience all in itself. So, but yeah, I'll talk about that stuff later. But my main thing with, doing all this stuff is just I see life for what it really is now, and I just hope, like, this tragedy that happened to me, I believe that Jesus turned it around into a blessing, and I know this is a rare thing for people my age and stuff, but it does happen, and hopefully they watch this or they just hear, hey, there's hope on the other side.
Well, I think the rug can get pulled out from under anybody in life.
Yeah.
You feel like you've built up this thing and you finally arrived. You've got the person that you're going to be with. You all are moving in together. Like, just whatever stage in life that you say, all right, as soon as this happens, I'm good, I'm set, I'm happy. And then that thing arrives and it's like, cool, we're just going to coast and do regular life. And then life has completely other plans, and just figuring out how to navigate that without checking out. It's hard, and not a lot of people talk about any of it. We're still conditioned.
That's the thing too, like what happened to me, there was nobody for me really to talk to. Like, I didn't know anybody. Everybody at rehab and physical therapy
everybody was old.
70s, 80s.
Which means I didn't have anybody to talk to about it either. I just had...
It was, like, I really felt alone. Like, like, it was just like, why did this happen to me? Like, there's no reason. And the doctors didn't know why. They still don't have an answer.
No, they have some theories, concrete. No.
So, because I've got my own theories, and we'll discuss that another episode too.
That's true.
But yeah, I just hope and pray that if anybody out there knows of anybody that has went through this, and just know that if there is somebody out there that needs somebody to talk to, I'm here. I can relate to you. I can listen, because I know for a fact sometimes that's all somebody needs is just to know, like, misery loves company. And when you're in a miserable place, it's nice to hear from people that have been through that
and came out
like
on the other side.
Yep.
Yep. And go, it's all right. Like, this is how it's going to be.
Yep. Because I could have easily not been here right now.
Yeah. Yep.
I could have died in that hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So, I survived. Grateful for it. And I truly believe the Lord's turned this into a blessing somehow, and that's why we're doing the podcast.
Yep.
And I'm looking into doing ministry stuff, but with brain damage, it's hard to really get new information in, because I do have short-term memory issues. So I have notes everywhere in this house.
That's true.
I carry a couple notebooks with me when I go somewhere in case I need to write something down. And I know somebody's probably going to be like, don't you just have a phone you could just do that with?
No.
I had something happen to me, and I went from being 36 years old that night, woke up 74. So, Pop here doesn't like technology as much as you youngins. So
that's very true.
I like paper and pencil.
He does.
So, actually, pen, I don't like pencil. Ugh. I don't. What? You like pencil? Would you rather write with a pencil or pen?
A pen.
Yeah. Pen.
Well, this has been fun. Tune in every week.
Was there anything else you wanted to add for, just our little introduction episode? I mean, we've touched on why we created it, where the name come from, kind of a little quick who we were. Anything you'd like to say about it before we wrap this up and get our first official episode underway?
I think just that it does not matter what life looks like today for you at all. I didn't realize how dark and bitter that I had really become until, looking back on it. And I genuinely believe that anybody can find the joy, and I mean, that sounds cheesy, but I really do think that...
Well, I mean, that's the thing, like, with everything we've been through, like, we're still happy people.
Now, life can be a lot better.
Yeah, but
than being in the trenches.
A very happy person.
No, But
at first. Till the
So-
Lord snatched me up.
but that's, that's why we're talking about it, because some
Yep.
people might be just terribly in the trenches now, and maybe they can use our story to, just keep going until you get to the happy part.
Yeah, that's my hope, and I really hope that even people that don't have like a traumatic thing happen and stuff like that to them, that like they hear the stuff we went through, and it's like they realize, like, man, I need to take my faith serious, because this guy right here went to sleep, almost didn't wake up. It's like you really never know when you're gonna go, and if you're not taking this stuff seriously, like, I don't want to wake up in hell. Like, I don't. So, and I want other people to realize that, because you really don't know if you've got tomorrow.
No.
But yeah, that's pretty much why we're doing this. Was there anything else you would like
No.
to say? Okay. Well, we're going to wrap this episode up and get ready to take a break and do our first official episode. But I would just like to say I look forward to doing this, and I hope people enjoy it. And I'm not looking to make money off this kind of stuff, and not looking for this really to go anywhere per se. I pray that it hits the people that need to hear it. And whether that's one person or a million.
Not a million. That makes me uncomfortable.
I said see it. Didn't say we had to talk to that many people.
That's fair. Yeah, all right.
But if it helps one person, 10 people, 20 people, fantastic. It's more people for the kingdom.
Yep.
It's more people into the light. So that's what I hope out of this. And we hope to also hear from you, anybody that, wants to share their story with us. Like, we're always here. And if you need somebody to talk to in a troubled time, like, don't hesitate to reach out to people, and don't hesitate to talk to the Lord, because He's always there, even when you don't think so. He's there.
Let's
Just-
wrap it up.
What? Let's wrap it up.
Yes.
That's what we're doing. You're going to interrupt me when I'm in the middle of thanking the Lord?
Yes.
You really want to get off here, don't you?
Yes.
All right. Well, just like Woody, remember, like the Lord, you got a friend in me.